Good morning, boys and girls, and welcome to Church at Home lesson for pre-K. Today, we're going to continue to talk about God's creation and what happened in the very beginning. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. God said, "Let there be bodies of water below, and let there be a sky above." God created animals that live in the water. God created birds that live in the sky. And God created the land. And on the land, He created animals. Here's some piggies. Here's some lions. God even created people. And the first people were Adam and Eve. There's Eve, and there's Adam. Adam and Eve were the very first people that God created. And God told Adam and Eve to take care of the land and to take care of the animals. Well, today we're going to talk about obedience and what it means to obey. Today, boys and girls, we're going to read from the Bible. The Bible is the Word of God. That means that when we open the Bible and when we read the words in the Bible, we are reading God's words. All right, today we're going to read from the book of Genesis. We're going to read Genesis chapter 2. Our story is called God's Garden. What do you see? Do you see the trees? Do you see the man in the garden? What do you think the man's name is? Do you remember? That's right, his name is Adam. Let's read from the Bible. God planted a garden in the east in Eden. He made all kinds of trees for the garden. The trees were beautiful, and they were full of fruits that were good to eat. God took the man He had made and put him in the Garden of Eden to look after it. The man was called Adam. We were right. In the middle of the garden were two special trees. Do you see them? 1, 2. The tree of life and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. God said to Adam, "You must not eat the fruit from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. But you may eat the fruit of any other tree in the garden." All right, so what did God say? He could eat this fruit, but he could not eat this fruit, right? What is it called when we listen to God? When we listen to God, it's called obeying. When we disobey, we don't listen to God, right? So are we going to obey God? Do you think the man is going to obey God? God saw that it was not good for man to be alone. He filled the garden with every kind of bird and animal, and Adam named them all. So what did he name? What did he name this animal? Adam named him a giraffe. That's right. What about this animal? What did Adam name him? Elephant. What did Adam name this guy? Do you see him? Rabbit. What about this guy? What did Adam name him? Fox. Oh, who does God create next? But none of the animals were a good partner for him. So God made a woman to be Adam's partner and wife. Adam called her Eve. And there she is. What did Adam call this guy? Butterfly. Very good. The snake in the garden. Adam and Eve ruled over all the animals in the Garden of Eden, but the snake was very sneaky. He led Eve to the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Do you remember that tree? We just read about that tree, right? What did God say about this tree? What did he say? He said, don't eat it, right? Do you think Eve is going to obey? Let's listen. Why don't you eat the fruit from this tree? The snake said. Uh-oh, God said not to eat that fruit. Eve said, God told us not to eat that fruit. The snake climbed onto the tree. But it's the best fruit of all, he said. It will make you wise. It won't hurt you. Is he telling the truth? What do you think Eve's going to do? The fruit looked so beautiful and delicious, and she wanted to be wise. So Eve ate some. Oh no, she's not obeying God, right? And she gave some to her husband. Adam knew he should not eat it, but he did anyway. Oh no, so they're both disobeying God. All at once, Adam and Eve felt ashamed. They hid from God. When God found them, he was sad that they had not obeyed him. He was angry with the snake for making Eve want the fruit she should not have. He said to the snake, because you did this, you will crawl on your belly and you will eat dirt all the days of your life. So here's the snake. He'd crawl on his belly, right? He made Adam and Eve clothes of animal skins to cover themselves. Then he made them leave the garden. God punished them. Life would be hard for Adam and Eve. God sent angels to guard the gate and also a sword of fire. No one could ever again enter the Garden of Eden. So there's the sword of fire. So boys and girls, in our story today, we learned that Adam and Eve were given a beautiful garden, right? They were given a beautiful garden with all kinds of plants and all kinds of animals. And God told them, you can eat from any tree in the garden, but you cannot eat from this tree right here. And did they obey God, boys and girls? They did not obey God. And because they didn't obey God, God kicked them out of the garden. And they didn't have the beautiful garden anymore. Boys and girls, did Adam and Eve obey God, or did Adam and Eve disobey God? Adam and Eve disobeyed God. Boys and girls, when we obey God, we do what God says. When we disobey God, we don't do what God says. So that's what I want you to remember today, boys and girls, is that we want to obey God, which means to do what God says. So what does obey mean? Obey means to do what God says. Can you say that with me? Say, obey means to do what God says. I hope you guys have a great rest of the day, and we'll see you next time.